These are the only 5 credit cards you need if you're trying to get hundreds or even thousands of dollars in value every year. If you're brand new to credit cards, you may think that you should only have one card, or on the other hand, maybe you think you need 20 different cards to get maximum value. Well, I'm here to tell you neither of these is true. With the right credit card setup, you can cover a wide variety of purchases to get the most out of the spending you are already doing on a day-to-day basis. You don't want to have 5 credit cards that all do the same thing. The key is to have complementary cards that make up for the weaknesses of the others. I also happen to think that 5 credit cards is the perfect sweet spot for the average person, where the number of open credit cards doesn't overwhelm them and there's not too many annual fees that you start losing money. This leads me to my disclaimer that the goal of using credit cards is to get value out of them. If you aren't disciplined enough to pay off all of your balances, or you get carried away with annual fees that start making you lose money, then you shouldn't be using credit cards. If you need a better understanding of how you can avoid this, go watch my Ultimate Beginner's Credit Card Guide up here, and then come back to this video to learn about the cards. With that disclaimer out of the way, let's start with the first type of credit card, and that is what we're going to call our catch-all credit card. This likely will be your most used credit card because it will earn 2% or 2x back on every purchase. If you're looking for a strictly cashback setup and you don't want to use your rewards on travel, I'm going to recommend the Wells Fargo Active Cash, which, as I said earlier, earns 2% back on every purchase. On top of this, it offers a nice $200 cash bonus after spending $500 in the first 3 months. This card has $0 annual fee, which means it costs you absolutely nothing even if you aren't using it. The reigning champion in this 2% cashback category has historically been the Citi Double Cash, but I think now the Active Cash is a better option as it also offers the additional benefit of $600 of cell phone protection after a $25 deductible. Other than that, there's not much that separates the two cards, so both are great options, but my choice is the Active Cash. As for people wanting a catch-all travel credit card, my top pick is the Capital One Venture X. This card comes with a nice 75,000 point welcome offer after spending $4,000 in the first 3 months. And as for category multipliers, this card boasts 10 points per dollar on hotels and car rentals booked through the Capital One Travel Portal, 5 points per dollar on flights booked through the Capital One Travel Portal, and 2 points per dollar on all other purchases, which is why we are considering this our catch-all card. Something to note is that this card has a $395 annual fee, and the reason for that is that it is a premium travel card. However, the card comes with a whole host of benefits and credits that outweigh this annual fee, so you can still get positive value out of it. One of these credits is a $300 annual credit to be used on bookings through the Capital One Travel Portal. If you plan on spending $300 on travel throughout the year regardless, then we can value this credit at the full $300, reducing the effective annual fee to just $95. But it doesn't stop there. Capital One also gives 10,000 bonus miles on your card anniversary every year you renew it. These miles have a value of, at a minimum, $100, which reduces your effective annual fee to -$5. On top of this, the card also offers a $100 credit towards TSA PreCheck or global entry, access to airport lounges, cell phone protection of $800, and no foreign transaction fees, which makes it perfect for the person who wants to travel internationally. And continuing with the travel theme, if you find yourself renting a car, another great perk is that it provides primary auto rental car coverage, which means that you can decline the car rental agency's coverage and cut costs there. And perhaps the best benefit of this card is that you gain access to all of Capital One's transfer partners, which can help you extract even more value out of your miles. If you need more detail on how to do this, I recommend checking out the same credit card guide video I mentioned earlier, as I cover the topic of transfer partners there. So as you can see, this is a very powerful travel credit card that does much more in addition to being your catch-all card, which makes it a great addition to your setup. Now moving on to the second card in our 5-card setup, we have our food card. This is an important category to cover because for many of us, it's one of the biggest portions of our budget every month. And for this card, on the cashback side, I recommend the Capital One Saver One card. This is a no annual fee credit card that earns 3% cash back on both groceries and dining. And unlike some other cards that only offer 3% back on dining, but not groceries, the Saver One covers you for both. On top of using it for food, you also get 5% back on hotels and rental cars booked through the Capital One portal, 3% back on entertainment and select streaming services, and 1% back on all other purchases. Saver One also comes with a nice $200 welcome offer after spending $500 in the first 3 months. And another benefit is just like the Venture X, this card has no foreign transaction fees. And now moving on to our travel credit card, we're actually going to double dip and say the Saver One as well. The reason being is that although it earns its rewards in cash back, this can be converted into Capital One miles if you have the Venture X. Whereas I mentioned earlier, we can extend the value even further using Capital One's transfer partners. This means that the $200 welcome offer I mentioned earlier is actually a great 20,000 miles. Now, if you want an alternative food card on the travel side, there is also the Amex Gold card. This card actually offers you 4 points per dollar on grocery stores and restaurants, 3x on flights booked through the Amex travel portal, and 1x back on all other purchases. However, this one does come with an annual fee of $250, which for some people may seem steep, but it does come with a welcome offer of anywhere between 60,000 and 90,000 points, depending on the offer you find. And it comes with $240 worth of annual credits. These come in the form of $10 monthly credits to both Uber and specific dining restaurants like Grubhub, Shake Shack, and Cheesecake Factory. These credits don't carry over or stack, so if you don't use your $10 credit this month, then you lose it. If you're going to opt for the Amex Gold over the Saver One, make sure that the card provides you positive value. I personally wouldn't get much use out of the current credits with my current spending habits, so it doesn't make much sense for me. That's why I think for the most people, the Saver One is the best pick for this category. Now moving on to the third card of our setup, we're going to look at a card with rotating quarterly categories that switches up the multipliers on certain categories every quarter. And that card is the Chase Freedom Flex for both the cashback and travel side. This card has no annual fee and its welcome offer varies, so depending on when you're watching this, the public offer might be different. Right now, they are offering 5% cashback on grocery purchases for the entire first year, but in the past, we've seen a standard $200 or 20,000 ultimate reward points back after spending $500 in the first 3 months. And even sometimes a combination of the two, where you get the $200 and the grocery offer. As for earning categories, this earns 5x on rotating quarterly categories, 5x on travel booked through the Chase portal, 3x back on dining and drugstore purchases, and 1x back on everything else. The typical rotating quarterly categories include things like gas stations, grocery stores, Target, Amazon, and PayPal. However, those aren't set in stone, so some quarters you may find that the current category isn't very helpful to you in terms of getting cash back, and others you will find it super useful. However, I think this is a great card to have in your setups because it oftentimes has categories that aren't as common on other cards, so it works well at filling in the gaps left by the other cards in this video. Moving on to the fourth card in our setup, we're going to include our first specialist card. The reason I'm calling it that is that it serves a specific purpose in our wallets, whether it's with its earning categories or with its features. Looking at the cash back side, the card I would recommend here is the Citi Custom Cash. This card earns 5% cash back on your top eligible spend category up to $500 in spend every month, and 1% on everything else. Currently, there is a limited time offer that also gives you 4% cash back on hotels, car rentals, and attractions until June 30th, 2025. Additionally, there is a $200 welcome offer after spending $1,500 in the first 6 months. The way I would use this card, and the most popular way to use it, is to only put one category of spend on here so that it is always earning 5%. For example, you could use it as your gas card to always get 5% back on gas. Now, if we take a look at the travel side of things, my go-to specialty card is the Chase Sapphire Preferred. This card comes with a standard 60,000 bonus point welcome offer after spending $4,000 in the first 3 months of account opening, but sometimes you will see elevated offers, usually around the 80,000 point mark, but sometimes even higher. However, this card does come with a $95 annual fee, making it the second card in our setup with one, but the benefits and credits of this card outweigh this annual fee. As for earning categories, you get 5x on travel booked through the Chase portal, 3x on dining, 2x on all other travel, and 1x back on everything else. Now, admittedly, the earning categories on this card aren't the best as we have other cards in our setup that earn points in these categories. However, the value we get from this card is not in its earning multipliers, but actually in its other features. For one, this card allows you to redeem your points for travel in the Chase portal at an elevated 1.25 cent per point compared to the standard 1 cent per point. However, if we want maximum value from this card, and the reason we have it in our setup is that we get access to Chase's transfer partners, which are some of the best available. For one, Chase is one of very few issuers that partners with Hyatt hotels, which far and away is the best value redemption for points when it comes to hotels. The reason being is that Hyatt hotels don't use a completely dynamic reward chart like other chains like Marriott or Chase. This means that the points needed for redemption doesn't track exactly with the cash price of the room, which in the case of the other brands makes their top-end hotels exorbitant prices. For example, a top-end Category 8 5-star Hyatt resort will cost you a maximum of 45,000 points a night in peak season. Whereas with Hilton and Marriott, you may see the price of a 5-star hotel cost over 100,000 points a night. Outside of Hyatt, Chase also has great airline partners that we can get great value out of. And since we have the Chase Freedom Flex in our setup, we can actually combine the points we earn there onto our Chase Sapphire Preferred to make earning points easier. Outside of the redemption features, the Sapphire Preferred also gives us a $50 hotel credit to be used in the Chase portal. This means that if you book just one stay through the Chase portal each year, you can reduce your effective annual fee to $45. We also have no foreign transaction fees and a suite of different travel and purchase protections. Overall, I think the Chase Sapphire Preferred is a great specialty card that allows us to get great value out of our setup. And for the fifth and final card slot, we're going to have another specialty card. The first card I will recommend on the cashback side is for Amazon Prime members, which I feel like is a large amount of people. And that is the Amazon Prime Visa, which has a $0 annual fee, but you do need a Prime membership to get the card. So in a sense, there is a $139 annual fee, but if you're already paying this, the effective annual fee is $0. This card earns 5% back on purchase at Amazon, Whole Foods, and on Chase Travel, as well as 2% back at gas stations, restaurants, and on local transit, and 1% back on everything else. For people who shop a lot at Amazon, this card is almost a must-have because it's the only way to earn 5% back on Amazon outside of when Chase has it as a rotating quarterly category on the Freedom Flex. You also get a $100 Amazon gift card after you get approved for the card, which is a nice welcome offer. And moving on to the travel side, to finish up our setup, I'm going to recommend the Bilt MasterCard. This card is super unique in that it is the only credit card that allows you to earn points on rent. The earning rates are 3x back on dining, 2x points on travel, and 1x points on rent and all other purchases, all for a card with a $0 annual fee. There are a few stipulations, and then you have to put 5 transactions on the card per billing cycle to get the points for rent, and the rent point earnings are capped at $50,000 and spent each year. But once you accumulate all these points, Bilt has great transfer partners that make this a great travel credit card, such as British Airways, Hyatt, and Alaska Airlines. This card packs a lot of power for renters, and it makes a great 5th card to our travel setup. And with that, we have the only 5 cards you will need broken down by cashback and travel setups. If you're confused on any of these topics, such as redeeming points or where to start, be sure to check out my other video on a beginner's guide to credit cards, as I mentioned earlier. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to help this channel grow, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.